so we're pretty much limited and non-existent. Our programs director created activity packets, so those could always be picked up downstairs. They were also delivered to the apartments. Meals were being delivered and still are being delivered to all the apartments. And then the team here, all of us have been checking in on all of the residents, especially from an independent living standpoint, because you are independent. You don't have the luxury of having a CNA or a nurse from assisted living coming in to check in on you. So all of us, it was very much hands on deck. We were checking in, sitting, doing one-on-ones with a lot of our residents. As things started to lift, families were social distancing and still are social distancing outside on the patios or in front of the community. In July, we are in July 20th, we'll be able to open up the dining rooms again. We have started small group activities, and everyone is just following the rules as much as possible. So I'm incredibly proud of what we've been able to accomplish here, despite the hardships. We've been able to make it fun. In lieu of activity groups, when we weren't allowed to meet together, we had happy hour carts. We had ice cream carts. We did birthday celebrations door to door. What else did they do? We had some of the teams walk around and double check, deliver your newspaper, bring you a book, anything and everything where we could be in front of you. We were taking that opportunity so that you could stay more or less quarantined and not worry about moving around the community. We came to you, and just really trying to make it as fun as possible with everything that was taking place.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I think we should just get started on our program a little bit. It's going to be more loosey-goosey, free flow conversation, if you will. So Carrie's already ringing. Carrie's a busy beaver. It's hilarious. This is what always happens when you're live. So I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Jennifer Prell. I am the president and founder of Paxem Incorporated. We are A+ accredited senior move managers. I'm also a certified move manager through the National Association of Senior Move Managers. And what that means is I just know how to work with older adults and help them transition from one home, a lifetime of 30 years plus, into a new home, which is smaller and much more fun. People are supposed to live around their lives, not around their stuff. So our goal is to give people their lives back and have some fun. And then this is Carrie Peck. And Kerry, you can introduce yourself. You're one of my favorite people.
Thank you, and the feeling's mutual. Good afternoon, David and Jean. My name's Carrie Peck. I lead the 10-lawyer firm of Peck Ritchey. We have offices in Northbrook, Oakbrook, and downtown Chicago. We've had the pleasure of working with Jennifer Prell and Paxem and Elderworks and Tessa for many, many years. And we focus on all of the issues that relate to aging. So those include aging and disability and regrettably death, dying, and taxes. I had the pleasure and privilege of serving as president of the 22,000 lawyer Chicago Bar Association. I lecture on subjects relating to aging throughout the country, to lawyers, healthcare professionals, and older adults on a quite regular basis. This is probably the 15th program I've done since the pandemic began. I was asked to write several books by the American Bar Association, which is a large bar association for lawyers throughout the country. And one of those was written for families, and it's right here, and it's called Don't Let Dementia Steal Everything. And regrettably, as you know, sometimes as we age, our cognitive abilities decline. And this is a checklist type book that was written for families. And Bar Association previously asked me to write a different book for lawyers called Alzheimer's and the Law. So we likewise offer our clients the opportunity to come and meet with us at no cost if we can help you. And we're happy to do that with either of you or your friends, family, or colleagues. I think today, you know, we're going to talk about what you need to do before you move. And so, you know, the real question in terms of what do you need to do before you move, I think the most important thing you need to do is get your documents in order. And those documents, of course, could range from power of attorney documents. Here in Illinois, we have two types of powers of attorney. They're called durable power of attorney for health care and a durable power of attorney for property. Of course, the concept of a power of attorney is that you, while you are mentally competent, name someone. So, for example, if I name Tessa to make decisions for me when I'm no longer able to make my own decisions, I can name her to make healthcare decisions, and maybe I name Jennifer to make my what's called property decisions. Property is a generic term, and it relates to all of your assets. It doesn't relate exclusively to real estate. But these are important documents when you consider moving, because you may decide you want to let somebody else go to the closing on the sale of your house or things of that nature. You may want to let somebody else go do banking for you as you move and need to accumulate your assets. And likewise, you probably want to make sure you have your estate planning documents done, which could be a will, or could be a will and or a revocable living trust. But I'm going to turn the floor back to Jennifer.
Thank you. One of the questions I get when I'm helping people is, should I put a person such as a caregiver or a friend on my checking account with me, just in case I'm not available? And my answer is always no. Carrie, do you want to tell them why?
No, no, and no again. Okay, this is very, very important. Regrettably, we see a lot of circumstances in which if you put someone on your account, more often than not, you put them on as a what's known as a joint tenant. So if I'm a joint tenant with Jennifer, and Jennifer has then the ability to take and invade 100% of my assets. She may be the most honest person in the world, and I think she is, by the way.
Thank you.
But if in fact something goes awry and somebody persuades her to invade my assets, it's a big problem. In addition, it's a good method to leave assets behind, because if I die with Jennifer as my joint tenant, she gets that money outside of probate upon my death. But what if Jennifer is my joint tenant and she goes through an ugly divorce and her husband decides to drag that joint tenancy account into the divorce and alleges that he should get a share of that joint tenancy money? Very common problem. The other common problem with naming a joint tenant is that joint tenant gets involved in an automobile accident. Their insurance is not adequate to cover the damages or injuries to the other party. And again, that joint tenancy asset is dragged into the case. So choose your joint tenants very, very carefully. Frankly, choose them much more carefully and make sure they love you more than they love your money. You are giving them access to your money.
Exactly. That's the one thing I worry about. I've had some families that we work with where the mom trusted the caregiver to go grocery shopping and things like that because she couldn't get out. And what they didn't know is she was taking a little bit here, a little bit there for herself, because she pretty much was on the checking account and co-owned it, if you will, even though she didn't. So I like to protect my seniors. I don't like when that happens. But one of the things I did want to mention when you are trying to get ready to move is the legal aspect of moving is the most important part. You want to make sure, obviously, to have those docs in order, but read your contracts and make sure you understand what's being asked of you and the rules and regs of anywhere you move, right, Kerry? Because that can also be a nightmare. There's some CCRCs who are in bankruptcy right now, and you need to read the fine print. So Paxem, what we do is, and what we suggest is that you know where all of your accounts are. And if you already have chosen where to move, you're going to want to let those accounts know where you're going, such as your credit card accounts, your insurance. Do they need renter's insurance? I don't know, Tessa, do they need renter's insurance?
I think that it's a good
They,
idea. I don't know if they
they
need it
actually,
at the facility though.
Yeah.
Or excuse me,
so
community.
at the Sheridan, we don't require renter's insurance, but it is advised just for your comfort.
Okay. So typically senior communities are pretty safe. You don't really need renter's insurance unless they allow smoking. There used to be the old days they allowed smoking. And there was, I should tell this story. There was this community, it was beautiful, brand new. And within a week, a woman was smoking and fell asleep with a cigarette in her bed. And the fire, well, obviously the automatic sprinklers went on, and she was on, I don't know what floor, I think she was on the top floor, and it went all the way down to the bottom floor. So that new building was in deep doo-doo. So smoking is no longer allowed in most buildings. I don't think any buildings in Illinois for safety purposes and reasons. So Paxem, what we would do is we would just guide the families in terms of what steps to take. Each person's different. All right. Some people have a house to sell. Some people are currently renting somewhere else. Some people are just living with children. So they're all different types of originations, if you will. So if you're originating in a house, you have to get that house ready for sale. So the first step is finding a stager to get that house prepared for sale, someone who's going to give you real facts about your neighborhood and what you need to do to improve your home with the best return on investment. Not every area needs granite countertops. Not all areas need to improve their homes. Some homes just sell because of the location you're in, such as like Arlington Heights. If you're in Arlington Heights, you can just put a sign in your front yard and your house is sold. Then you live in Kerry, where I live, and you can be here forever and your house will never sell, even if you stage it. I'm kidding, it will sell. Price is right? Right, Kerry, you got to price the house correctly.
I'm confused between Carrie and where you live, Carrie. So.
I live where, what was it, where Jesus left his flip-flops or sandals, whatever they say.
Okay. Learn something every day.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Agreed.
It's crazy. So we do have a staging and design division at Paxem. So our stager would go in and help stage the home, and our pack and move team would go in and help declutter the home. The biggest problem with selling any house is the clutter in the house. Clutter is the biggest deterrent from someone moving in. If someone can't view themselves living in the house, they're not going to buy the house. Unless it's a tear down, doesn't matter. But typically it's not. So that's where we start in the process. We start with a free consultation. We give everyone an action plan so they know what steps they need to do to move forward. They can hire Paxem, they can hire anyone else. We don't care as long as they move forward with what they need to do. Do it yourself, that's fine with us. But we'll always give you a free action plan so you know what steps to take depending on what you've told us. So if we talk to someone and they say, well, we asked, do you have an attorney for this process? If the answer is no, we're like, okay, you probably don't have any of your legal documents done. It's time to talk to Carrie or one of Carrie's team members. That's where I would start the process. And then from there, hopefully the house sells fast and you don't sit. But for someone
we can help
like,
you sell the house as well.
Yes, you would go through those legal documents as well. What we usually tell our families is you need to first figure out where you want to go and where you want to live. So the Sheridan of Green Oaks is a great opportunity. It's a nice lifestyle. So if you chose an apartment at the Sheridan, then that's easy. You know what size apartment you're going to move in. You figure out which pieces you're going to take with you, the pieces you love and the art you love and the memories that you love, not all of them, a few. And then everything in the house is minutia. It doesn't matter anymore. You're done with it. You've basically, there's an accounting term. You've used it. It's this money spent, it's gone. You can't recover it, right? So whatever you get is gravy. If you sell it through an estate sale, great. If you'd rather donate and take a tax write-off, Carrie might suggest that depending on your assets. I wouldn't know. I don't get involved in that. What do you suggest about that, Carrie? When someone is trying to sell their house and their assets in it, do you recommend the donation process? What do you recommend?
Well, I think that it's really a personal decision. A lot of people like to donate assets to their favorite charities, maybe the church, homeless organization, something of that nature. But it's also, moving is a very difficult situation. As you've already pointed out, you can't take everything.
No.
You can't take everything. I mean, Jennifer packed up and moved my mother, and you can't take everything. She wanted to, but
She did.
but the reality is that you're going to leave some things behind. So and much of it is going to be an emotional decision in terms of what you leave behind. And maybe what you leave behind, you either want to contribute to, as I said, a meaningful organization to you, or you wanted to give it to other members of your family. So sometimes there are tax benefits. Clearly, if you donate to a 501c3 charitable organization, and of course need to be valued and determine if you can get a tax benefit on that. But it's a case-by-case situation.
Absolutely. And you mentioned family. We always suggest to talk to your children before you get rid of the items you no longer want. And you should do that sooner rather than later so they can enjoy those items. However, if they don't want those items, do not force them to take them. You're just creating clutter for them and they don't want it. So at that point, you need to figure out, is there value? Should you sell it or should you donate it? Or if there's rips, tears, breaks, cracks, it's no longer useful at all and no one will buy it. Unless it's a Picasso, then maybe. But otherwise, no, then it's just gonna have to be removed. And it's important to get through that process. One of the suggestions we have here at Paxem is get some Post-it notes. So for instance, I always have Post-it notes. I don't know if you can see that, Post-it notes. And what you do is you make a list on a paper of everything you must take with you. And those musts are always things you have to have, such as a bed, because you want to sleep somewhere. Clothing that you actually fit in, not the ones you hope to fit in someday, but the clothing that actually fits and things like that. Those are the must takes with you. And then your Post-its, your useful Post-its, you put the things you want to take with you. These are all the optional fun things that you just love, and your collections, your collection of Yadros, your collection of art, your family photos, Pyrex. I don't know what you collect. Some people still collect Beanie Babies, whatever it is. Make your list, and that list, the reason it goes on Post-it notes is because you're probably gonna get hundreds and hundreds of these things that you love. And then you put them in order of importance. And you only keep the top 20 items, 10, 20 items in that list to take with you. Unless those 20 items are supersized, then you can't take 20. And you pack them in that order. So your number one item, if it's, let's say, family photos, we're gonna pack that first. And that's the first box you open. The second item, let's say I want my favorite Yadro I got at my wedding. Okay, that's the second item. We're gonna make sure that's in the second box, and that goes with you, and so on and so forth. So when we are moving you into your new apartment and we're opening the boxes, once we get to box 10 and nothing else fits, box 11 through 50 is going to have to be stored, donated, or given away. I mean, you just have to decide at that point. That's why you put the most important items on your list first, and you pack them first, and you unpack them first. The rest of it doesn't matter at that point. We have people still having boxes in their storage unit they just couldn't part with. They spend $250 a month on, and it's minutia. That's not even worth $250 a month. And then what happens? Then the kids get stuck with it, and they don't want it, and now they have to pay to remove all those things. So it's better to declutter ahead of time rather than later. It just costs way too much money and stress. That's what we suggest anyway. I don't know.
No, I agree. I mean, I think that, if you've lived in your home a long period of time, perhaps you even raised your children in that home, there are meaningful items, obviously, to you and to the children. And I echo Jennifer's comments. It's critically important to get the kids involved in, at least passing on the family heirlooms. And everybody views these personal effects, so to speak, differently. Some people are in love with the picture from the prom, and some people are in love with the slot car race set. And some people don't want anything to do with either. So it really is a personal situation, and get your family involved to whatever degree they want. David, you've indicated your family lives, out of state. They may say to you, hypothetically, whatever you want to send us is fine, or if you don't, that's fine too. But solicit their opinion so that everybody buys in to the concept that, number one, you've selected a great place to move, and number two, you're going to take some of the items from your family history with you to the new location. I think that it's tremendously emotional, and to the best of your ability, get people involved if they want to. A lot of kids want nothing to do with it. They say, Dad, Mom, whatever you decide is okay with me. I have my own family now, and we're creating our own memories. So that's really the reality of this situation.
It's true. It's true. And the one thing you should or can do is when you're sorting and trying to figure out what to keep and give away, because you're already going to know what you want to take. Bring in some friends, bring in family, get together and do it, or bring in someone like Paxem who's neutral, that can help you objectively look at the items in your home. If you're not an emotional person, it's usually easier. If you're a very emotional person or a teacher, teachers are all emotional. They all want everything. It's hilarious. I hope none of you are teachers because it's going to take a while. I love my teachers. They're fabulous. They've loved every child they've ever met, and they've kept everything from every child that's ever given them anything. And 20, 30, 40 years as a teacher, that's a lot of stuff. And you can't take it all, you know? So it's really cool to see those things, but you also know it's time to move through them and maybe make a montage of those things by photograph and put it on a wall so you can see that history, but don't take the items. It's just too much. I did have a question for you, Carrie. I was thinking about once you sell the house, there's an asset that you're selling, if it was in or out of trust, either. What are they going to do with that money? Should they be investing that money? Should they be putting that money in trust? What are your suggestions? I know you're not a financial advisor, but I always tell people if the money's or the house is in the trust, the money should stay in the trust, but I'm not sure if that's the right thing to say.
Well, I think that depends where the money, if this money's coming from a sale of a house, whether it's in a trust or it's not in a trust, it's likely to end up being a very substantial asset for the individual that's just sold the house. They may have accumulated other assets that are currently invested in perhaps equities or bonds or mutual funds, but certainly the proceeds from the sale of your house, you're going to want to consider investing, locating a financial advisor if you don't already have one that can invest that money and help you grow. You know, your costs of living, you know, in a community are going to be somewhat fixed. I think Tessa can tell you, you know, what all those costs are going to be, but you're obviously going to want to have an additional income on top of your Social Security, and certainly whatever assets you have before you sell the house, use the proceeds of sale, put them in with those assets, put them in a different type of mixed portfolio of assets, but consult your financial advisor and determine the best way. If it's in a revocable living trust, that's fine. If it's not, you need to consider having your assets in a revocable living trust. Of course, the purpose of a revocable living trust is to avoid a post-death probate. And in Illinois, if you die with assets in excess of $100,000 in your name alone, law requires that we open a state, an artificial entity, in the circuit court of the area you live, you know, at this point, Lake County or McHenry County, depending where you live, perhaps Cook County. And those assets need to be probated, which means they need to be basically run through the court system for 6 months, allowing the creditors to file claims against your estate. Individuals have the opportunity to contest those transfers and things of that nature. If you use a revocable living trust, the post-death administration is done in my law firm conference room. It also has lifetime benefits because while you name yourself successor trustee to manage your assets, upon your disability or death, you will have named a successor trustee. That could be an individual, it could be an entity, it could be a bank to manage your assets. So there are a variety of issues that relate to your assets and the management of your assets and the ultimate disposition of the proceeds from the sale of your house. We can help you with all of those issues and work with your financial advisor or recommend financial advisors to you if you don't have one.
Excellent. That was good. Thank you. That answered my question too. So once the house is sold and you've chosen to move, your legal documents are in order. The next step is to get to point B. And to do that, you need to, I would suggest, hire a senior move manager like Paxem to help with all the coordination for you, because it's not a simple move. Companies like Paxem, what we do is we do all of the packing. We hire and manage the mover on your behalf. We make sure it's a seamless transition into the new communities such as Sheridan of Green Oaks. We get you into your apartment. We set up your entire apartment, beds made, art's up, things are put in the cabinets, everything's put away, and you just basically sleep in your bed that night. It's your new home. You're just streamlining it and making it a simple process. It's really easy to move into the Sheridan. The Sheridan has a moving program to get you in pretty easily. I don't know if you're currently doing a shelter in place right now where they have to stay in their apartments for a certain period of time. Is that part of your process?
Yes and no. Prior to move-in, we need a negative COVID test. Then on the day that any resident moves in, for example, if you move into independent living, I get the luxury of doing a COVID test on you that day that you move in. Until we get the negative results back, which is usually anywhere from 24 to 48 hours, we do ask that you quarantine in your room until we get that second test to be a negative.
But, you know, living in an apartment at the Sheridan and quarantining there is pretty nice.
I mean, I would gladly hang out in these apartments for 14 days, if not 24 hours to 48 hours by myself.
I think I need to be quarantined. I'm going to come visit for 14
With 3 meals a day delivered, and yeah, that sounds like a nice place to be.
Yeah.
Yes, and some of your apartments have balconies or patios, so absolutely, I would have no problem doing it.
That's what I need. A balcony and no dogs, cats, and children. Woohoo! That'd be awesome. So once you're into your apartment, what you have to decide is what you're going to do with your belongings left in your home. So if it's a full house, typically you can have an estate liquidation or an estate sale. It is difficult right now to do the normal estate sales. Our organization just started doing traditional estate sales, but they're not really traditional in the sense that we allow 10 people in at a time, and you're going to be with a Paxem representative, 6 feet away, of course, masks, hand sanitizer required, and you have maximum of 1 hour in that house. So you have to get in and get out, buy what you want, and then go. Most of the sales we're doing right now is a buy it now type thing where people can purchase the items, and it's a no contact pickup. We can put it on the porch, they pick it up, they leave. So we're trying to stop the spread of, you know, the disease, and hopefully get rid of some of the belongings that no one wants and make some income for those families. Now, Carrie, when we do those estate liquidations, we typically say put the cash away somewhere for a rainy day. And I think that's a good idea. I was informed that the only reason to report income on an estate sale is if it's high value items. Is that correct? Such as like a Picasso or a Matisse or something of extraordinary value?
In theory, you should report all cash income, you know, as income. So,
yeah, but if you're making $50, that's not an income really.
I can only tell you what the law requires. You know, people have to decide what the practical application of that is.
Right, right. Interesting. I don't know.
Jennifer, David, do you or Jean have questions that we can answer for you?
Not at this time. Kerry, I'd like to show you my book that I opened up last night from my trust and my estate. So I've got that pretty well in hand. Okay. The thought of selling the house and cleaning it out is overpowering to me. And I'm glad to know that there is a resource there that I can use.
Well, as I mentioned, I used Jennifer and Paxem for my own mother. I would highly recommend that you, you know, consider using them for you. Happy to look at the book you referenced, and you know, happy to facilitate, you know, representative of Jennifer's organization or Jennifer talk to you about how collectively we can help you.
Absolutely.
And I just want to chime in real quick too, David. I know right now, I mean, we use Paxem quite a bit. Anytime our models have to change, Paxem is usually changing it for us. Right now, any residents that are moving into the community, we are offering a complimentary pack and move, and it is with Paxem. I'm myself going through my own move, so I'm moving from Des Plaines to Gurnee, and have already reached out to Paxem to get an estimate as well as to what that's going to entail. They make the process so easy and so seamless. Plus, they coordinate with our move-in coordinator. So Leslie Rossi, who's our move-in coordinator, is facilitating that whole move with Paxem, making sure the apartment is ready. And I agree with everything that Jennifer has to say in regards to downsizing, or however you want to term it, decluttering. It is overwhelming. It can be overwhelming. But that's why I like her method, because whatever you absolutely need, you focus on that first. Then you get into the apartment or wherever you're moving, get a sense for it. You can always bring more back in. It doesn't mean that nothing can come back in. Our apartments are pretty spacious, and trust me, I've seen some residents pack it to the brim. We have a resident that almost brought her entire home from New Jersey into a 845 square feet.
Oh.
And it looks amazing. It's a lot. Don't get me wrong. It's a lot that she has, but it looks fantastic. So I think families right away, and what I see is individuals always think, I've spent years in this home, I can't bring everything. Majority of the time you can't, and that's okay. But for the most part, the absolute items that are a must, and then the items that are would really like to have, pretty much can fit in the apartment.
Yeah, that's true. And the apartments are very spacious. We've been in a lot of different senior communities, and yours is actually, I could live there, which is nice.
Same.
And it is
Absolutely.
Decluttering and sorting through all the lifetime of memories. The reason it's easy for us is we have no skin in the game. We are not family. We are neutral, and we can objectively look at your items and say, yeah, this is great, let's go ahead and take it. Or, I think this is a little bit worn out. We know you loved it to death. It's dead. It's just dead. This chair is hitting the floor. You're never going to get up. You can't take it. Things like that. If you can choose the largest pieces to go with you, all the furniture is the most important piece for you to decide on first. Pick your furniture, your bed, your chair, your TV stand, your TV. If you don't like it, get new stuff. Make sure it fits, measure again. Because you're having movers move that in for you. You don't have to carry it. So no big deal. The smalls that you take with you, let's say you forget something. Well, it's still at the house. You can pick that small item up and put it in your car. You don't have to pay someone to bring it to your new apartment. So the biggest decision is, what furniture are you going to take, or are you going to take any of it? And if you're not going to take any of it, our designers can also help you pick your furniture and help you design your floor plan and help you build your own living space. But we want you to be, any person who moves, they have to be comfortable living in that space. It has to be about you. This is not about my living. This is not about the way Tessa lives. This is about the way you live. And that's what we try to get a feel for. If you are a huge TV buff, we want your sitting area to be comfortable, your little chair, your tables, whatever you need around you to be comfortable, and a nice TV, because that's your favorite thing to do. But if your favorite thing to do is to be out of that apartment, we're going to make sure that apartment's simple, easy to maintain, so you can get out and live your life. That is our goal.
I have a question. Jennifer, do you also work with people out of state, or do you have someone that works with someone out of state?
Do you mean where they're coming from or going to?
Coming from.
We have senior move managers all over the nation that work with us. So what we would do is coordinate with that firm in the area you're starting in to make sure that we're talking together to make sure everything fits into your new space. So let's say you're starting in Colorado. We would find a senior move manager in Colorado. We would make sure that they know the apartment size. We would help them with the floor plan here. And we would work as a team to make sure everything that's supposed to be coming here comes here. And it's a senior move manager, just like Paxem. I mean, we don't all do the same things, but we all have the same resources. And then that's another question, Carrie. If someone's coming in from out of state, their legal documents need to be updated. And
Right. No question about it. If you're moving from Colorado or any other state in the country, you need to have Illinois documents. You particularly need to have Illinois documents in a COVID environment, because out-of-state documents, when presented to a hospital, for example, a power of attorney for healthcare, Colorado may be viewed kind of askance. We can do remote execution of estate planning documents now under Governor Pritzker's executive order, which means virtually you can do it on this kind of setting, a Zoom setting, a FaceTime setting, both for notarization and execution of Illinois updated documents. And if you're moving, it's more likely than not your life situations have changed as well. Maybe you're moving to be closer to the grandchildren. Maybe the prior documents don't have a new grandchild in that estate plan. So it's a really good idea to have Illinois lawyer look at documents and potentially rewrite some of those documents, if not all, when you move in from out of state.
Okay.
Jean, did that answer your question?
Yes. Well, I have a sister that lives up in the Milwaukee area, and she keeps talking about wanting to move down here.
Yes, I have someone in Milwaukee area that can help her, and we would receive the belongings here. We would coordinate. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you be able to give me the name of someone up there that she could speak to?
Sure. I can email that to you, or I'll email it to Tess. Tess will give it to you. How's that?
Okay.
Tessa, are you going to send us how to get a hold of Paxem?
I can.
Here, I'll put the number right on the screen for you. That's the corporate number, the office number. We have 3 divisions at Paxem. We have our pack and move division, which handles the organizing, decluttering, the pack and moves. We have our estate liquidation division, which handles the distribution of your assets, trying to get it sold for you on your behalf and the clean out of your home. And then we also have our staging and design division. Our staging division will help any size house, from your small homes to your super size homes, multi-million-dollar mansions. Our design services typically are for higher end, higher wealth families. Designing is not inexpensive. There's a lot of viewpoints when you're trying to design and redo homes or figure out what the best opportunity is for the furniture. And typically that's going to be a little bit more expensive than just like a staging consult. I don't know if you've worked with designers, but they're interesting. They do all the fun, pretty things. I don't do pretty. Yeah, I'm fluid and functional. I like organization. I like things tucked away in their cubbies, and I'm more spatial, all about the space, and they're all about the pretty and the fluffy and the views. So it's it depends on what you're looking for. Yeah. Any other questions, Jean or David? Or anyone else? No, everybody knows everything. That's awesome. I wish I knew.
Well, I've already learned so much from you, and now going through a move, I mean, I can attest, Jennifer can agree. I've almost email her daily, and I actually am working with her colleague Terry to come out next week to give me an estimate of my house.
Yeah, well, Terry's sweet. She'll be nice to you. Hopefully you have an attorney in place.
She better.
Once you own a house, that house should be in trust. Just saying.
Yeah, this is fascinating to me. This is all new territory. I've only had to sell a townhouse. So now we're selling a house and buying a house. This is brand new, and I did not know about that. So
yeah, when you have a house, you should always put your house in trust. And then if you have, Carrie, you can tell her. I'm not telling her. I'm not a lawyer.
Yeah, you want to consider putting your house in trust so that you can avoid some liability, but more importantly, you can pass that house to your family outside of probate.
It's safe to say.
And Tess, I'm happy to talk to you about it, you know.
Thank you.
Offline.
Yeah.
It's more personal.
It's not about Tessa's move right now.
I need to get my trust redone. It's been, well, my kids in my trust are supposed to go to my sister-in-law, and my daughter's 24 and my son's 21. So I'm thinking they're not going to my sister-in-law. So I think my daughter was 6 and she's 24. So I'm way late on my updates, Carrie.
Well, I guess we'll have to do it then.
Zoom it.
I'm trying to get my phone number up there, but I don't seem to have much success.
Oh, and
So
your chat, I can do that.
Yeah, please do that.
Hold on.
The phone numbers are not coming up on the screen.
It's in the
No.
chat box. Do you see the chat box in the bottom? If you move your mouse across your screen, the bottom bar will open. Just click the chat and it'll pop up. What's your phone number?
I don't see it anywhere.
Oh, you don't?
Nope.
All right. Do you have a pen?
Yes.
We can
Yes.
give it to you then. Paxem's phone number is 847-829-4437. And you can get any of the team members at that number. And Kerry will give you his number.
My number is 312-201-0900.
Thank you very much.
No,
Thank
thank
you
you for
both.
attending.
Thanks for joining us today. Tessa, thanks for hosting.
Yes. Thank you, Tessa.
My pleasure. Thank you both. Jean, David, thank you so much for joining us. I'm very glad that you were able to participate. I know someone else participated, but they were on by phone, and then they hung up. So
The next seminar that you're putting on, Tessa, is on July 14th, and that's with Moana Moore, who is our staging director here at Paxem, and it's staging
Correct.
1. So she'll talk about the pretty.
yes, I actually had the stagers at the house yesterday, and that was, again, a brand new experience.
Yeah.
And
I didn't enjoy it, honestly. I don't like people telling me what to do.
actually, it wasn't a horrible process, but and David, I know you said that going through your stuff is very overwhelming. I'm kind of along the lines of Jennifer. I like things neat, organized. I'm all about the space. Staging, I very much understood the process as to why they do what they do yesterday, but I actually found that to be more overwhelming than me just saying, okay, well, I haven't, and I kind of have the rule of thumb, and I don't know if this would help you, David. If I haven't used something or been in a room for like 6 months, then I get rid of it. I have the 6-month rule. If it hasn't been touched in 6 months, I'm donating it.
So that's my husband has to go, right?
Yes.
You're certainly better than I am.
My husband and I, our parents are much older. His parents are much older. And I can't tell you how many times we have this conversation as a family with his brothers. I'm constantly telling his parents, you have to get rid of this stuff. And she has she has 3 boys. She has kept everything since they were babies.
Oh my gosh.
Whatever they touched, whatever they sucked on, everything. And she has very much of attachment to it. And I want to respect that. But my parents, when they're looking to downsize as well, they literally, whatever had Tessa's name on it or my brother's name on it, they showed up at our house one day and just dumped it in our house and said, it is not our responsibility anymore. If you want to throw this out, then it's on you. Because my mom didn't want to have to throw it out. She felt better putting it on me and putting it on my brother, and rightfully so. My mother-in-law, not so much. She does not want to get rid of anything. I've never, ever seen so many fishing poles, so many ladders, so many tackle boxes, so many of everything. And her sons have finally had to tell her, fine, bring it to the house, but don't expect us to keep it. And it's a hard conversation when you have to hear your child say, I don't want it. But and boys are different, but she, little by little, she's giving us my husband's stuff. My husband will go through it. Some things he keeps, but for the majority of the stuff, he throws it out. I mean, they had a flood and she kept everything. So there's stuff that's completely ruined. Why would we want that?
Right.
So if your sons or, any of your kids or even your daughter-in-laws or neighbors, if they can be involved in some way, or if they can take it off of your shoulders, let them, because that process is so much more beneficial to you. And then let them take it and let them worry about it. Whatever they do or don't do with it, it's not your concern. So I don't know if that helps. It's just kind of, I kind of wanted to share a story that I've gone through, and what we see. And this is something I deal with every day at work, but to share my own personal story, sometimes it can help, it's more relatable, I guess.
Maybe it helps.
Yeah.
If not, I can show some hoarding photos if everyone wants those.
Jennifer's got a ton, so.
I do. But it is all about the emotional side of the move. Senior move managers have jobs because it is about emotion, and streamlining that emotion into productive performance is better. So productively moving through your stuff and productively getting rid of it is important, because if you do not and you stay emotional and attached, it's hard to move forward with anything. It's hard to adjust. So let's say you do move to the Sheridan, it's harder for you to adjust when you're still living around all of that stuff.
Yes.
And moving forward is the goal, right, David? I think so. Oh, Gene
Okay,
and David
folks,
are
I think
sleeping.
it's time for a good cup of cold water.
Oh,
I'm going to excuse myself.
that's okay, no problem.
All right.
All right, I
Thank you
think,
for attending, David.
Thank you for attending. Jean, thank you for attending.
You're welcome.
All right, y'all have.
Thank you, everyone.
Tessa, thank you. Jennifer, thank you.
Thank
Have
you.
a wonderful day.
Have a great day.